Ella Wheeler Wilcox was an American author and poet. Her best-known work was Poems of Passion. Her most enduring work was Solitude, which contains the lines, "Laugh, and the world laughs with you. Weep, and you weep alone." Her autobiography, The World and I, was published in 1918, a year before her death. Biography: Ella Wheeler was born in 1850 on a farm in Johnstown, Wisconsin, east of Janesville, the youngest of 4 children. The family soon moved north of Madison. She started writing poetry at a very early age, and was well known as a poet in her own state by the time she graduated from high school. Her most famous poem, Solitude, was first published in the February 25, 1883 issue of the New York Sun. The inspiration for the poem came as she was traveling to attend the governor's inaugural ball in Madison, Wisconsin. On her way to the celebration, there was a young woman dressed in black sitting across the aisle from her. The woman was crying. Miss Wheeler sat next to her and sought to comfort her for the rest of the journey. When they arrived, the poet was so depressed that she could barely attend the scheduled festivities. As she looked at her own radiant face in the mirror, she suddenly recalled the sorrowful widow. It was at that moment that she wrote the opening lines of Solitude. "Laugh, and the world laughs with you. Weep, and you weep alone. For the sad old earth must borrow its mirth, but has trouble enough of its own." She sent the poem to the Sun and received $5 for her effort. It was collected in the book Poems of Passion shortly after in May 1883. In 1884, she married Robert Wilcox of Meriden, Connecticut, where the couple lived before moving to New York City and then to Granite Bay in the Short Beach section of Branford, Connecticut. The 2 homes they built on Long Island Sound, along with several cottages, became known as Bungalow Court, and they would hold gatherings there of literary and artistic friends. They had 1 child, a son, who died shortly after birth. Not long after their marriage, they both became interested in theosophy, New Thought, and spiritualism. Early in their married life, Robert and Ella Wheeler Wilcox promised each other that whoever went first through death would return and communicate with the other. Robert Wilcox died in 1916, after over 30 years of marriage. She was overcome with grief, which became ever more intense as week after week went without any message from him. It was at this time that she went to California to see the Rosicrucian astrologer, Max Heindel, still seeking help in her sorrow, still unable to understand why she had no word from her Robert. She wrote of this meeting. "In talking with Max Heindel, the leader of the Rosicrucian philosophy in California, he made very clear to me the effect of intense grief. Mr. Heindel assured me that I would come in touch with the spirit of my husband when I learned to control my sorrow. I replied that it seemed strange to me that an omnipotent God could not send a flash of his light into a suffering soul to bring its conviction when most needed. 'Did you ever stand beside a clear pool of water,' asked Mr. Heindel, 'and see the trees and skies repeated therein? And did you ever cast a stone into that pool and see it clouded and turmoiled, so it gave no reflection? Yet the skies and trees were waiting above to be reflected when the waters grew calm. So God and your husband's spirit wait to show themselves to you when the turbulence of sorrow is quieted.'" Several months later, she composed a little mantra or affirmative prayer which she said over and over: "I am the living witness, the dead live, and they speak through us and to us, and I am the voice that gives this glorious truth to the suffering world. I am ready, God, I am ready, Christ, I am ready, Robert." Wilcox made efforts to teach occult things to the world. Her works, filled with positive thinking, were popular in the New Thought movement, and by 1915 her booklet, What I Know About New Thought, had a distribution of 50,000 copies, according to its publisher, Elizabethtown. The following statement expresses Wilcox's unique blending of New Thought, spiritualism, and a theosophical belief in reincarnation: "As we think, act, and live here today, we build the structures of our homes in spirit realms after we leave Earth, and we build karma for future lives, thousands of years to come, on this Earth or other planets. Life will assume new dignity, and labor new interest for us, when we come to the knowledge that death is but a continuation of life and labor, in higher planes." Her final words in her autobiography The World and I, From this mighty storehouse we may gather wisdom and knowledge, and receive light and power, as we pass through this preparatory room of earth, which is only one of the innumerable mansions in our Father's house. Think on these things. Ella Wheeler Wilcox died of cancer on October 30, 1919 in Short Beach. Poetry. A popular poet rather than a literary poet, in her poems she expresses sentiments of cheer and optimism in plainly written, rhyming verse. Her worldview is expressed in the title of her poem, Whatever I Say is Best, suggesting an echo of Alexander Pope's, Whatever is right. None of Wilcox's works were included by F.O. Matthiessen in the Oxford Book of American Verse, but Hazel Fellman chose no fewer than 14 of her poems for best-loved poems of the American people, while Martin Gardner selected The Way of the World, and The Winds of Fate for best-remembered poems. She is frequently cited in anthologies of bad poetry, such as The Stuffed Owl, an anthology of bad verse and very bad poetry. Sinclair Lewis indicates Babbitt's lack of literary sophistication by having him refer to a piece of verse as one of the classic poems, like If by Kipling, or Ella Wheeler Wilcox's The Man Worthwhile. The latter opens, It is easy enough to be pleasant, when life flows by like a song, but the man worthwhile is one who will smile, when everything goes dead wrong. Her most famous lines open her poem The Way of the World, Laugh and the world laughs with you, weep, and you weep alone. The good old earth must borrow its mirth, but has trouble enough of its own. The Winds of Fate is a marvel of economy, far too short to summarize. In full, one ship drives east and another drives west, with the selfsame winds that blow. 'Tis the set of the sails, and not the gales, that tell us the way to go. Like the winds of the sea are the ways of fate. As we voyage along through life, 'tis the set of a soul, that decides its goal, and not the calm or the strife. Ella Wheeler Wilcox cared about alleviating animal suffering, as can be seen from her poem, Voice of the Voiceless. It begins as follows, So many gods, so many creeds, so many paths that wind, while just the art of being kind, is all the sad world needs. I am the voice of the voiceless. Through me the dumb shall speak, till the deaf world a unregistered trademark's ear be made to hear, the wrongs of the wordless weak. From street, from cage, and from kennel, from stable and zoo, the wail, of my tortured kin proclaims the sin, of the mighty against the frail. She made a very popular appearance during World War I in France, reciting her poem, The Stevedores while visiting a camp of 9,000 U.S. Army stevedores. Legacy. Her quote Love lights more fires than hate extinguishes is inscribed on a paving slab in Jack Kerouac Alley in San Francisco. Ella Wheeler Wilcox's name provided the unlikely inspiration for doggerel by the English humorist Richard Murdoch, which he set to the opening bars of Alexander Luigny's ballet Copyright Gibson. The first stanza of her poem The Man Worthwhile can be found in Disney's Hollywood Studios. Oliver Stone's movie JFK opens with a quote from her, To sin by silence when we should protest makes cowards out of men. The Winds of Fate was quoted by Baroness Margaret Thatcher in her interview by Sir David Frost on BBC World in 1996. The first stanza of The Man Worthwhile is parodied in the movie Caddyshack. The opening lines in her poem The Way of the World are recited in Park Chan-wook's film Old Boy. Her poem Over the Banisters was adapted into a song for Judy Garland in the film Meet Me in St. Louis. Her poem I Like Cigars Beneath the Stars was set to music by an E.C. Walker, possibly British and not the politician E.C. Walker. The song was recorded by the Hulgas Ensemble in 2010. Works, book. The Heart of New Thought, Chicago, The Psychic Research Company, 1902. 92 pages. The Worlds and I, New York, George Tudor and Company, c. 1918 www. Poetry. The Invisible Helpers in Cosmopolitan 57, 578-579 www. The Voice of the Voiceless www. Disarmament www. Roads to God www. To an Astrologer www. Secret Thoughts www. An Ambitious Man www. An Englishman and Other Poems www. Hello, boys. www. The Kingdom of Love www. Morin and Other Poems www. New Thought Pastels www. Poems of Cheer www. Poems of Experience www. Poems of Optimism www. Poems of Passion www. Poems of Power www. Poems of Progress www. Poems of Purpose www. Poems of Sentiment www. A Woman of the World www. Yesterday's www. Poems of Reflection, 1905. Copyright, M. A. Donoghue and Company. References. Further reading, Ivkovic, Edward. Ella Moon, a novel based on the life of Ella Wheeler Wilcox. Oregon, Wisconsin, Wow-Besser Press, 2001. ISBN 1-878,569-72-4, external links. Ella Wheeler Wilcox. The Ella Wheeler Wilcox Society website, including biographies, bibliographies and writings. Cudula's web features illustrated poems by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. Ella Wheeler Wilcox, An Advanced Soul, works by Ella Wheeler Wilcox at Project Gutenberg, works by or about Ella Wheeler Wilcox in libraries, Ella Wheeler Wilcox Papers. Schlesinger Library, Radcliffe Institute, Harvard University. Ella Wheeler Wilcox at Find a Grave.